It's your one-stop shop for great wrestling. WrestleCopia.com, where you'll find an armload of great wrestling podcasts. Some are weekly, some are not. All of them are great. Ray Russell brings WrestleCopia to you, including his own show, The Wrestling Memory Grenade. There's Regional Wrestling, The Wrestling Stoop with Bob Roop, The Pure Wrestling Academy, Retro Wrestling Review with Gene Jackson, Dave Dynasty's Wrestling Nostalgia, Monday Warfare, Raw vs. Nitro, the Other Shit podcast, the Captain's Corner podcast, and much, much more. Great host, great shows. I guarantee you'll learn something every time you tune in to the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Where do you find all these shows? How about starting it this way? Just log on to WrestleCopia.com. There's nothing else like it anywhere.
The greatest wrestler in God's green earth. I am just going to sit here and I'm not going to tell any jokes. I've got my magazine stacked right next to me with Harley Race on the cover of Pro Wrestling Illustrated right here. And I'm going to listen to the voice of Justin Race, Harley's son. He's got 1,000,001 memories and every one of them are great. On the Outdated Wrestling Hour. This one's for the books, gang. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Outdated Wrestling Hour. My name is Bob Smith. You probably remember me best from my years with Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine and all the sister publications. How you doing? Our co-host is Joe Puccio from GenerationXWire.com. And a very, very, very special guest tonight is Justin Race, the son of the legendary all-time wrestling champion. I don't know how else to put it. Harley Race. The GOAT, the best, the greatest. I mean, I don't like to say just the greatest anything because there's been a lot of really, really great wrestlers and a lot of really great everything. But, I can't think of anybody better than Harley Race. No question about it. So we're gonna share some memories here. And Justin's got 1,000,000 of them. So please stay tuned. I'm not going to talk a whole lot. I want to get right to the action here. We're going to talk to Joe about a few things. And then we're going to bring on the inimitable Mr. Justin Race. And at the end of the show, we're going to tell you all about the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame upcoming ceremony in October. You really should be there. I'm going to be there. Bill Apter is going to be there. Mac Davis is going to be there. And we'll tell you who's going to be feted and honored. I'm hoping to have Seth Turner of the Hall of Fame on within the next couple of weeks. We shall see. But in the meantime, we've got Justin coming, and this one's for the books. We're really going to have a lot of fun here. So give us a couple minutes. We'll be right back. See you at the end of the show for all the information about the Hall of Fame. I had a blast last year. I guarantee you that if you come to the Hall of Fame, you will have a blast too. Hold on. We'll be right back. It's that time of year again, folks, because I am gearing up to once again attend the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony in Albany, New York. At the end of the show, I'm going to go over all the details and how you could be there if you choose to. And you really should come. It's a blast. And it's easy to do. I'll give you the website. I'll tell you who's going to be inducted. A lot of ins and outs. I was proud to write an article about Johnny Rods, which you can read on that website right now.
I did. You had mentioned that before. It's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. I loved Johnny Rods.
Yeah.
When Michael Lanudo, I believe his name is, came to me from the Hall of Fame and said, would you be interested in writing a piece on Johnny? I said, interested. I'd be privileged. Like I said, I remember talking to an old lady at the Washington Avenue Armory. Johnny Rods is on the card. She just said, he stinks. And I'm like, because he was a bad guy. That was
Right.
such a good guy town. But I could see the athlete in him from day one. I love Johnny Rodz. So anyway, I was proud to do that. And I am proud to have on tonight's show Justin Race, the son of Harley Race. I mean, Harley Race was the GOAT. Does that make him the GOAT of sons? You know, I don't know how that stuff works, but I cannot imagine having a father like Harley Race. Like everybody who I knew that knew Harley said that underneath it all, he was a sweetheart, and he was also the toughest SOB they ever met. So you know what he was? He's a real man. That's what he was.
Talk about having to live up to something. Like you said, you imagine being the son, having to live with the dad like Harley Race. I mean, considered one of toughest the toughest guys ever, right? In the business. I mean, he's got some reputation, that guy. Even when he was in his old age, right? Like he still looked like he can kick anyone's butt he wanted to. It's so crazy. Those guys have that aura. He's one of those old school wrestlers that really always had that just tough guy aura. Obviously, he never had wasn't a physique guy. He didn't have he wasn't a muscle guy, but it didn't matter. Those guys, they didn't need that. He almost, it wouldn't fit him to have that kind
I
of.
beg to differ. If you look at professional wrestlers from the 1950s to the late 1960s, 5 of them were muscle guys. You had Sailor Art Thomas and 3 others.
Yeah.
Bruno, in a little ways, nobody was a body sculptor back then. You were just big and had muscles.
Right.
So
Well,
I put it to you that if you look back at Larry Hennig and Vern Gagne and who were the tough guys back then? Sailor R. Thomas looked like he was a huge bodybuilder, like he could have competed in body championships. But I just think people looked different back then. They didn't have the advantages to working out that we have today. So I think it's an apples and oranges comparison only because of the passage of time.
yeah, I mean, at the start of Race's career, absolutely. I mean, he had a long career. So, I mean, at the beginning, absolutely. There really weren't that many bodybuilders in
No,
wrestling. But I mean, obviously, once he got into the 80s, I mean, he was around for quite a while. And I know that was sort of like the tail end, the late 80s. But once he got into the 80s, and even when he joined the WWF in I think it was 1986 when he joined that promotion, he certainly didn't fit the type of a body that Vince was hiring at the time. But again, he didn't need to. I mean, it just didn't, that wasn't part of his aura. That wasn't part of who he was. So yeah, I think it worked for him.
he didn't look out of place in 80s WWE at all. I don't think he did. I think he was a big enough man where, and they brought him in as a veteran. You remember when they ordained him king, Bobby
Sure.
Heenan and all the heel managers and everybody else was there in the ring? They ordained him king because he had a track record they weren't gonna talk about. Like, they weren't gonna say he was NWA world champion or that he had done everything there was to do in wrestling, although they did say it in that many words when Heenan had that proclamation out that he was
Right.
reading. So he was a rarity in WWE in that they brought him in as a veteran who's the king because he's done it all. That's basically what I got out of that coronation. Do you agree with that?
Specifically, what they did was they had him win that King of the Ring tournament in
Right.
'86.
Right.
And then from there, they gave him the coronation, which of course then they made it more of a little bit of a cartoonish they gave him the crown and they read the proclamation and all that. But obviously that was typical WWF at the time. But I will say, pertaining to that, it's interesting that I've heard historians and I've heard race fans sort of say that the gimmick that Vince gave Race in the 80s was a little bit, was kind of childish, and it wasn't really, they should have brought him in more as just this tough former champion veteran wrestler. And I've always sort of disagreed with that because I feel like it really, I mean, look, they didn't make him the Birdman. They didn't make him, a garbage man. They didn't, make him the Goon. I mean, they could have given him a really ridiculous gimmick. But to me, the King gimmick wasn't really ridiculous for that time. In fact, it might have even been one of the least ridiculous of that era.
Ernie Ladd used to walk around with a crown.
Yeah, he did too. That's right. Yeah.
And you have to remember there was Bobby Shane walked around with a crown. Jerry Lawler walked around with a crown. I understand Jerry Lawler didn't cotton to it when they did put a crown on Harley Race. I think there may have been some.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know if somebody threatened to sue somebody else. I'm just guessing. I know what other people read, and I don't trust the internet. So,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
there you
yeah.
go. But it's like, here's the deal with the crown. The bell rings. He doesn't have a crown on, and he was Harley
Mhm.
Race. Even in prelims, he was fascinating to watch at that age. Yes, he was slow of foot, but he was never a speed demon. He was a methodical hold master, super strength, slammed Andre before slamming Andre was cool. You know that, right? He's one of the people that slammed Andre long before the first time he was ever slammed, if you know what I
Right,
mean.
right. Yeah.
And that's there's verification that all over the place. So no, he was tough as nails. The sins of 1,000 years etched on his face. Who used to say that? It was that Gordon Soley. I think that was a Gordon Soley line. He just looked like a guy. His expression was like every regret he ever had, he wore on his face every moment of the day, which is a great way for a wrestler to look.
Yeah.
He just looked like toughness personified. You can't hurt me. I've already been hurt enough. A real man's man. And frankly, he thrilled me into WWE. He was my favorite wrestler there. And I went to both of the matches he had against Hulk Hogan at Madison Square Garden. It took place right after the Andre feud.
Right.
And I'm a full grown adult, inches away from working at PWI, right? Just a few months away from that. And there's a point in the match where he floors Hogan, and Hogan looks like he's out. And I'm on my feet going, pin him, pin him. And then I realized, what are you doing? I think it's the only time in wrestling I ever got on my feet and yelled at a card. I was like, pin him. I just thought it would have been so cool. But no, of course not. He did not pin him. And he didn't win the title, but he also provided around the horn some really, really good matches. I think Hogan got a lot out of wrestling Harley Race in that even against Hogan, Harley couldn't put on a bad match. And they were really good matches. Again, they weren't speed demon matches full of flash and verve, but he was a different kind of a professional wrestler. Look at the matches against Terry Funk. Look at the matches against Ric Flair. Look at the matches in Japan against Abdullah the Butcher.
Mhm.
I mean, he could do anything in the ring. I believed Harley Race when he said something. I really did. To the point that when I talked to him on the phone as a writer and a journalist for PWI, my knees were knocking. There were a few guys that I was like, I better come correct. I better act normal and just say the right thing and be respectful because I really thought he was partially who he was on camera. But as you'll hear from Justin Race, he was a multifaceted guy, and I think you're going to be kind of fascinated with what Justin has to say.
Yeah, I think key point is, like you said, when you talked to him, you kind of felt like he was Harley Race that you saw in the ring. And that's the thing. He had a sense of, or he had a level of believability to him. He didn't feel, you never felt like Race was out there playing a part. You never felt like he was playing a character. You always felt like he was legitimately who he was in that ring and that he was really going out there. He was really working the body parts. He was really doing what he set out to do. And that's one of the traits that I always liked from him. And you mentioned, the good matches with Hogan. And I don't know, I might be in the minority here, but I even enjoyed the matches he had. His big feud in the WWF was with the Junkyard Dog. And I know JYD wasn't exactly a premier worker, well, later in his career anyway. But I thought those matches were fine. I mean, a lot of it was because of Race carrying him, but I was entertained by that stuff. Again, it wasn't a speed match like you said. It was slow. It was a little bit plodding, but they did a good job. I mean, I think he really got the best out of JYD, and that was not easy to do during those 80s years when I think JYD was kind of under the influence, let's say.
Well, I'll tell you another little story about Harley Race from my PWI days. Sting was the champion at one point, or either that or Vader was. I can't remember which one. I think Sting was the champion. One of the two. And the match was billed as Vader versus Sting at a stop on the WCW tour. For some reason, Vader couldn't appear. I'm not going to even venture as to why. And they looked in the locker room, and there was nobody around to take his place. And from what I understand, Harley stood up and said, I got my gear. And he got in the ring against Sting.
Wow.
And delivered what, from all accounts, if you wanted to use the old grading system, was a 3.5 to 4-star match. At his age, not after not having worked for 6 to 8 months or something like that, because he retired, he became a manager for a while. He managed Vader, he managed Luger and a bunch of other people. they say the match was fantastic. And it's one of those save the card type of matches. It was that good. The fans forgot that Vader was in there, was getting into Harley Race versus Stank. I think, as you said, he got older. I think he could have put on a great match against a broomstick. He just had it. He was a pro wrestler every moment of his life. And I love guys like that.
Was that a televised match, like a pay-per-view?
No.
This was
Like I said, it was a house show match.
Oh, it was a house show. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, like I said, it was part of the tour. They were touring around with the same card and like every bunch of, let's say they did 8 cities in 10 days, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Vader either couldn't make it or fell ill or something.
Yeah,
and
right.
at that one show, Harley took his place. Yeah, I'm going to ask Justin about that too and see if he remembers that particular bout or any memories of that from him. And Justin, I'll tell you a story about Justin too. I met him last year at the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, and we were talking before the award ceremony. I had been talking to Kayla Sparks, who lives in that area, and when I met her last year, it was like old home week because she's from near my hometown, and we just started talking about the region, and it was like we knew each other for 20 years. So we're talking, and Justin comes over and joins the conversation, and our mouths are hanging open with the stories that Justin had about Harley Race. I mean, in ring, out of the ring, being a dad, what kind of disciplinarian he was, what kind of disciplinarian he wasn't. I mean, just on and on about anecdote after anecdote. And then he was the last person to give a speech when they inducted Harley last year. And I'll put it right there with any of the speeches you would hear at a WWE Hall of Fame. It was spectacular. He went on for about half an hour and not a minute was wasted. He had the whole audience in the palm of his hand. Justin Race is a special guy. And I think he got all that specialness from his dad. It's just a fascinating thing. And I hope he writes a book about him because you know what? That would be really good. Who knows him better than his son, right?
That's true. That's true. And speaking of the book, I know Race had an autobiography like maybe 20 years ago, but I never read it. Did you read that by any chance?
Never been able to locate a copy of it.
Yeah,
I can't find it.
I do remember that it came out vaguely, but for whatever reason, it didn't really. I think it might have been maybe it might have been before the renaissance of all the wrestling books, so it might have kind of got lost in the shuffle. But I do remember that, and now that I think about it, I think it was, I don't know if it was last season or the season before it. I think Dark Side of the Ring did an episode on Race as well. The Vice TV show. So
there's the thing too. I missed that one. I'm gonna have to try to watch that.
Yeah,
I have not seen
positive. Yeah.
Why is he on Dark Side of the Ring?
Well, I mean, at this point, they're not really. It's not. When they say the word dark, I mean, obviously it's 5-6 seasons now, so they're just going into weird circumstances, things about people's careers, behind the scenes stuff, and and he really beat this guy up, and he had an altercation with a fan. So I mean, obviously they're stretching it a little bit, but yeah, I'm pretty sure they did an episode on him.
Okay. I'll have to try to catch that too. So in any event, we will bring on Justin in just a few minutes. What's going on with you? Is everything good?
Everything's good. Yeah, can't complain. Busy with work, with Generation X Wire, and
I finally read the Spinal Tap review, and I'll have you know, Spinal Tap 2, the end continues is the end. It was out of the theaters in 1 week around here.
Really?
On week 2, you couldn't find it outside of one theater in Manhattan and one in the Bronx. It left the chains almost instantly. Whoosh, gone.
Wow.
Yeah, it did not attract the, shall we say, the interest of curious passersby. I just think that the people who loved the first movie went and saw it the second time, and that was about it. I mean,
right.
It reminds me of Queen of the Ring, which you and I are going to review, aren't we, for our show here?
I believe that is in the plans, yeah.
Yes. Now, folks, I know it's been a long time, but because of the weird, jagged release of that film, it came out in theaters, and then it was out in 2 weeks, just like we talked about with Spinal Tap. And then it went away, and then it went back to some theaters for 1 week, like art houses. And now it's available for streaming, and even that is a limited amount. I think it's on Fandango and Amazon Prime and Apple Plus. I think that's it. I think it's only on 3 or 4 places. But you know what? My curiosity is still kind of piqued by that movie, and I want to watch it and really intensely watch it. And we're both going to watch it. When we've both seen it, we're going to do a review of it right here. Just to let you know, you can see it now for like $5.99. I don't think it's available to purchase, and it is not going, at least not as of yet, into the HBOs of the world or Cinemaxes, what have you. I don't see any plans for that. It's a very, very odd distribution for this movie, but I still want to see it. You know, everybody I know that saw it liked it, so I want to try it.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to see it since it came out. Again, we've talked about it. Great plot, but I mean, great cast as well. A lot of wrestling cameos in there, so it looks really good. I think it's a couple hours, if I remember correctly. It might be a little over 2 hours, so a little lengthy. But yeah, I'm game.
Yeah, me too. Why not? It's a golden age of wrestling films. It's a golden age of wrestling books. Golden age of wrestling podcasts. There are so many new wrestling podcasts that I'm astounded that I didn't get lost in the shuffle and I'm floating out to sea. I mean, it is crazy now how many people are starting podcasts. And most of them have money behind them, Jackson, like they're old wrestlers and stuff like that.
Right.
But we forge ahead here. Everything's going well. I know things are going well for GenerationXWire.com. In addition to the Spinal Tap that was recently posted there, what's coming up in the future? Can you give us a little tease of new stuff, or are you just going to be the miserable fuss budget that I know you are?
Let's see. On the site now, we did an interview with Keith Elliott Greenberg on the WrestleMania 3 book that he's just put out, which was excellent. I highly recommend that book. So we have a feature on him. One of the latest articles we have a review of the new David Gilmour concert film, Live at the Circus Maximus Rome, which I believe just came out. So we did a review. JC Correa did a review of that for us. So that's there. Coming up, we have a couple of things on the horizon. I had mentioned before that, believe it or not, we are still trying to nail down Rich Little, which I have a date set to talk to him. The only problem is he's getting his Las Vegas show ready right now, and I've been kind of going back and forth with his publicist, and they're having a hard time getting him to commit because I guess he's, let's be honest, not only is he working on a show, but he's also pretty up there in age. So I'm impressed nonetheless.
What's ballpark?
Geez, I want to say he's got to be in his late 80s.
I would think, yeah, at
right?
least.
I mean, I have to look it up, but I would assume he's around there. But it's supposedly happening. Just trying to nail down the date. So that'll be something we'll be doing to cover cover his show and just his whole career. And I'm just looking at it right now. He's 86.
There you go, fans. If you think that the stuff we talk about here is too new, go to Generation XY and check out Rich Little, sponsored by 20 Mule Team Baraxo. And who else you got coming? You got like Doodles Weaver going to be on the show, maybe? Or maybe, how about Shemp Howard? You got Shemp Howard? I love Shemp.
Oh, imagine. You can imagine Shemp. Wow.
You know who's around here you might want to interview? Paul Howard, I think his name is, who is the grandson of Mo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is he sort of like active, talking about his...
Well, he made a video called Hey Mo, Hey Dad, which you can see on all the streamer services.
Okay.
And I wonder if he would be amenable to an interview. I'd love to hear what he had to say about anything. I mean,
yeah, that would be interesting.
As a Stoogeaholic like I am, I would love to hear from any eras of the Three Stooges. In fact, I think Mo has a great grandson who's running. Excuse me, not Mo. Curly, I believe, has a great grandson. Don't hold me to this. Anyway, Curly's got some sort of relative that's running around doing a little tribute to him too. So, yeah, if you go to the Three Stooges website, which I think is just threestooges.com or something, you can find out what all these offspring are up to. And to me, it's exciting to even, about 30 years ago, I went to a thing hosted by Robert Klein at the Town Hall, I think, in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
It was a tribute to the Three Stooges, where they played a few clips and had anecdotes from, the airs and stuff like that. And everybody sang Bicky Bye at the end of the thing. B-A-B, B-A-B. Everybody sang, the whole audience sang that. And it was boring as... And no, it was good. It was good. I'm kidding. But it was different. I mean, it was like, you got to see this. You know what's amazing? I've seen every Three Stooges episode a million times. But when you see them amongst other people in the theater and hear people laugh at stuff, it changes the whole vibe.
Yeah.
Because you and I have only seen them on television.
Right.
So, anyway, two of the Three Stooges are here. It's Joe and Bob. And I will not call Mr. Race any kind of a stooge. He's the farthest thing from that. And we're going to talk to him just a moment. I don't know what to say other than my knees are knocking, because it's like, this is quite a guy, Justin Race. And he's going to have a lot of interesting things to say. And he will be at the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in Albany in just a couple of weeks. So I would like to see you all out there like I did last year. Joe, I gotta get you to come to one of these things because it's an experience. It's really great. But you
No,
gotta wear a suit. You gotta wear a suit. Gotta wear a suit to the dinner that they have. It's a full course dinner along with the awards ceremony.
right.
So you feel like you're at the Oscars.
Wow, very
Actually,
fancy.
yes. Are you kidding? This is
Sure.
amongst the others being inducted this year: Trish Stratus, Tony Atlas, Rocky Johnson, Tito Santana, and Johnny Rods. And there's some peripheral awards as well.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good lineup of inductees, and you never know who's going to show up at this thing. Like last year, The Godfather showed up, and he was a hoot and a holler. And some other people who weren't being inducted, that were former wrestlers, they just all showed up to be there. And it was a lot of them. Marissa Voldy was there. He was inducted last year. So to me, it was like old home week, seeing a bunch of people I haven't seen in a long time and meeting new friends.
Did the Godfather come solo, or did he bring his hose?
No, he's solo now.
He's solo now? Okay.
He's solo now. I will say this. I've never seen, second time saying this on a show, and I'll see him in a couple of weeks. Biggest arms on a human being I've ever seen. And I've been around. I have been up and down. No, it was amazing. I mean, I'm looking at him. I'm like, Jesus, there's like tree trunks. It was just, he's a massive, massive guy. And one of the best friends of The Undertaker, by the way.
Yep. Yeah. I know that. Yeah.
Has been since the earliest days when he was the Soul Taker.
Yeah, I know there was a few of those guys that used to hang. They used to kind of ride together.
Memphis and Texas, they all wrestled together.
Yeah.
So those were the days. All right, we're going to take a break. Be right back with the one and only Just Embrace You. Don't you dare go away if you know what's good for it. Well, folks, I have been teased. I didn't tease this. I did put something on the interwebs. The middle of the week this comes out. It's coming out on a Friday. And I said, we got something really big brewing here. And this is a big moment for me because we have a gentleman who is the son of, you could call him the GOAT, the greatest of all time, the greatest champion of all time, the greatest wrestler of all time, and the greatest wrestler in God's green earth. It doesn't matter what you say. It's all true. Ask anybody of his era.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And I have his son here. It's Justin Race. Justin, it's good to see you again, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Bob. It's great to be here again. It's good to see you too. Been a while.
Yeah, one year exactly almost at this point. And we might as well both say that we are both, Justin, and this is even more exciting for me because you're bringing your mom again. And I find this to be really cool.
She's
Mrs. Harley Race and Harley's son, Justin Race, are both going to return to the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame on October 12 for this year's 2025 induction ceremonies. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of people who were there last year. Last year was my first one. And this is year 5 for the hall. And I had such a good time. It was a no-brainer. You know, I'm from that area originally. I'm originally from the Albany, New York area.
Right,
so I get the chance to see some relatives and take in all the wrestlers all at the same time. So it's a wonderful thing for me. It gives you an excuse to go out there. And here's the thing I'll ask you about the Hall of Fame up there. Harley's in every Hall of Fame ever invented. I mean, there's no question about that.
And
now we have this new Hall of Fame in Albany. What are your impressions once you've seen it and experienced the whole thing for yourself?
Oh, I think it's fabulous. He's got some memorabilia in there that I would never have thought you would ever have lasted this long. He's actually got the machine that Gorgeous George used to curl his hair with in that museum.
Mm-hmm.
He's got, I mean, the old video games of the first stand-up video games of wrestling. They got a machine in there that Andre played. They've got it's a tribute to all the men that have brought us to this point in the sport. Whether this point is where they wanted it to go, I don't know. But it's just a tribute. It's an absolute tribute and an honor to be for my father to be in the Hall of Fame and to just be there with all the folks there and to reminisce and tell stories. And the one thing I really think that makes it a different Hall of Fame, as different than what I've seen in other places, is most museums have their collection. Occasionally they'll add something to the collection or whatever. But Seth has a real good relationship with the archives manager. So when like last year when they inducted my father, he got some stuff from the WWE archives, like my father's red, white, and blue robe, and he got some stuff and put it in the museum, especially for his induction, and then gives it back to the WWE. But that relationship between him and the archives of the WWE enables him to bring stuff into the museum that normally no one would ever see, and it doesn't stay in the museum because of that. But they bring it in, like I said, they had my dad's robe, my dad's old boots, and they brought it in from the WWE archives. So I think that's a very positive thing about this Hall of Fame, is that he can get stuff brought in. It's almost like a traveling Hall of Fame that stays in the same place.
Yeah, and it's in the sports arena, which is kind of cool. It's
I like the MVP arena.
I did too. I was at the very
I was there when I was a kid.
Well, I was at the SummerSlam where Flair won way back around, what is it, 91, 92 or whatever it was, when he won the WWE belt for the first time. And
WWE belt? Oh, God.
Well, WWF belt, I should say.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That would have been,
I think it's 91.
Something like that, yeah.
91 or 92. And I'll tell you what, the arena was brand new back then. It was called the Pepsi Arena at that point. Now it's the MVP Arena. And it was a big thing for Albany because, shoot, they used to show the big wrestling cards there would be in an armory down the road from there. And it was, I tell you, they really needed a good-sized hockey arena. It really makes it feel much more major league than it used to be there. But, it's a great town. Arena. It is beautiful, spotless.
I mean, just the lobby walking in, and we were there during the day, but the restaurant and whatever they have off to the left there when you walk into the lobby, and just a beautiful building. And to have the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame within the building is just awesome.
Yeah. Well, having somebody like you endorse it is a really big thing for them, I'm sure, because it's like, I want to tell you this, and I'm not blowing smoke at you, okay? Last year's ceremony was closed by you. You were the last inductee, shall we say, to be able to talk. You were talking about your dad, and your mom was there, and she got to say a few words as well. And you went on for probably about, I'd say, 40 minutes, and not a moment was wasted. It was absolutely the best induction speech I've ever heard. I'm not blowing smoke at you.
Wow.
Because it was more informative than most. Most of it is, good memories or this or that. But you put a personal spin
what he
on
did and how he did it.
But you offered a perspective nobody else could. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I appreciate that. And that is my goal. People can see him now with the technology, how it is. They can see him wrestle on YouTube or Google him or whatever. Just about any match on earth is somewhere out there. But people don't know what my father was like on Saturday morning when we were watching Saturday morning cartoons when I was a little boy. And he'd lay there on the couch and I'd lay there on top of him, and he'd chuckle to Looney Tunes or Woody Woodpecker or whatever it was back then, Tom and Jerry. But, I just want to show people the father side, the human side, the caring, kind, and loving man that I knew. And I think that it really affects people in a way, because they think of him as the brawler. They think of him as brutal. They think of him as mean. They think of him as the cheater, the heel, the do anything to win a championship. And they don't know how humble and how fun he was at home. I mean, I've always said that all the guys have always called him Mr. Race or the King or the Boss. I used to joke with him. I said, the only people that call you by your first name are my friends. Because I grew up with these, I was lucky enough, so I never had to really go through what does your dad do type thing, in school. I was lucky enough to go to the same school district from second grade on. So I was with, a lot of the kids moved out, but, from the most part, we are my group of friends from second grade I graduated from high school with. So they grew up with my dad. He had no big deal with them. My dad was the guy that made chocolate chip pancakes on Saturday morning after they spent the night. My mom and dad would whip up some huge breakfast and whatever. That was my dad to them.
Yeah. But there's the thing. You tell these stories about him, and I sit back and I go, I can't imagine this, because his visage as a wrestler was just the toughest of tough guys. And he was the toughest of tough guys. Let's not make any mistake about that. He was a genuinely tough gentleman. But the thing is,
one of the toughest there ever has been.
oh no,
I mean,
pound for pound, good gravy.
And I would think that a Rick or a Terry, if he was still around, Funk, or Hogan, I think they would all say the same thing. And then they have said the same thing over the years, that he's just the toughest SOB out there. And
well, we talked to all the wrestlers in Albany. We had that little meet and greet thing before it all started last year, and we went around with the microphone asking, "What are your memories of Harley Race?" And every person who was a wrestler said he's the best I ever worked with. Yeah. I mean, it was just unanimous. It was like nobody had. Well, I think Tony Atlas said it really well that Harley would. The way to put it, being a layman,
I think I know what you're saying,
but he would adjust his style on his opponent's skills as opposed to just do his usual bit.
Well, the old saying goes, they always said in the locker room, Harley Race can make a broomstick look like a good wrestler. And so, like what Tony was alluding to was, my father used to say, I'll let any nitwit, or he called him something else, but we'll stick with nitwit, beat on me for 58 minutes, but the last 2 are mine. And he would, and he'd just get beat to death. And that's where he got that kind of reputation as just the toughest. He'd do anything. He'd take any bump. He wrestled 2 1-hour Broadways in a day.
Jeez, I can't imagine.
Yeah. So he was but he was so down to earth, and so he was just my dad. And as much as I respect him and have great pride in what he accomplished in his life, I would think that he would probably say that his greatest accomplishment in life was me graduating from college.
Yeah, you mentioned that in Albany, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when we were standing on that balcony looking out there on my graduation week from college, and he turned to me and he said, I'm finally at peace. And I said, what do you mean? He said, all of your life, I've had this little thing in the back of my head that wanted to break you into the business. But what I went through, and, because he was the traveling champion, he was the 300+ day a year all over the world, just impossible travel, impossible schedule, and wrestle every night for an hour. And he said, I've always had this little thing. I want to break you into the business, but I look back and now I see you with a couple of degrees from college. And he said, I finally feel like I made the right choice to keep you away from the business and keep you with your family and not beat up. And like you said, you really want to look like me when you're 45. I said, Dad, you look 45 when you were 18.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a funny joke the other day. Someone wrote this to me. He said, this guy came over. He said, when Harley Race was born, the doctors came out and told the parents, congratulations, it's a man.
That's a good one. Yeah, he when he was young, he looked.
I think he was born with those tattoos.
Yeah, shoot, I have no idea. Now, let me ask you a question. I don't know how old you were when, or what Harley's career was like when you were born, but your first memories of him, what year are we talking about? I mean, in terms of realizing he's a professional wrestler and all that, how old?
Oh, that I was really young. I mean, well, I don't remember this. I was 3, but when he won his first title from Dory Funk Jr. In 1973, I was 3 years old.
Okay.
So after, I probably remember, I see pictures of us like in Florida on the beach, and when he was wrestling around there, he always took us with him. And as one point I wanted to make was, when Dad was champion, because they put him through what they did, the schedule that they did, and the reason that they sent him out all over the world with the NWA belt and no one else with him, he said, Mom and I, was because they knew the belt was coming back to America. It didn't matter where in the world he was. If he got someone shot on him, that person was going to get hurt and he was going to take the belt to America. They sent Flair over one time to wrestle. I believe it's Jumbo. And they sent my dad with him, and Dad wasn't even wrestling. Dad sat in the front row of every match and made sure that belt didn't leave Rick.
Really?
Yep. His sole purpose there was to make sure that the belt came back to America.
Wow. I can't even imagine. Well, that was the mindset back then. You needed trust back then. And it was,
Oh, yeah. And
you had to
respect.
make, sometimes you send somebody like Harley over just as an enforcer to make sure that things went the way they were supposed to go.
Well, yeah, he was the general in the ring. He was a general in the locker room. And for the most part, the NWA, yes, had a board, but the board ran it by Harley before they did anything.
Mhm. Yeah, he was like,
Or he was the one that came up and said, "Hey, we need to, get down southeast. He would go and fix things in territories.
yeah, there you go. I have to equate him here in the East to what Bruno Sammartino used to do for the old WWF because the promoters trusted both of them implicitly. They knew they were going to do the right thing at all times, and even some of the champions weren't that, shall we say, compliant with what the needs of the promotion were.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Dad knew what needed to be done. He knew the business like the back of his hand. I mean, there's not many of them out there that started when they were 15.
Yeah.
And he was, I've heard Rick say that he was definitely the smartest guy in the ring and the best with in-ring psychology. And Larry Mastelak used to say Harley, within 2 minutes of a match, had the audience, I'm trying to look for my camera, in the palm of his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 minutes into a match, Dad had the audience in his hand, and he and Rick could go for 1 solid hour, and they weren't jumping off 10-foot ladders, and they weren't diving through broken glass and chair, whatever the heck they do nowadays.
Right.
They wrestled, and people were on the edge of their seat for 1 solid hour.
And I don't want to sound like an old fogey, but they believed everything they saw.
Absolutely. Well, there was blood, and there was, I mean,
Yeah. But
one way or another. I saw one time, Dad was, I think he was with Nick Bockwinkel, and Brody was with Stan Hansen. It was a match in Japan. And still today, it's like one of the funniest things I've ever seen. That most of the match started before they got to the ring. Very little of the match was in the ring. It was mostly in the bleachers and the rafters and whatever. And Dad and Brody are kind of, hitting each other with chairs and whatever, beating, going back toward the dressing room. And then Brody disappears. And Dad's standing there. Brody comes out with a mop and a wooden handle mop and hit Dad over the head with a mop handle. Of course, it shatters and goes everywhere. And I looked at my mom and I was a little boy. I looked at my mom. I say, "Did he go find the janitor's closet? Or where did he come up with the mop?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there was a psychology back then. People forget the psychology now. It's like if you watch a modern match, 2 guys are going at it. One jumps out of the ring and goes under the ring and finds a kendo stick. How did it end up there? It's not logical.
Someone still has to tell me what the heck a 10-foot ladder has to do with a wrestling ring.
But there you go. Yeah.
I mean, what the heck is that? You're like, you said that back then they know how to work the crowd and whatever. Dad and Abdul the Butcher were going at it in of course, another bloodbath in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And there are another 2 that they might as well not even set a ring up for. They just let them go wander around and hit people with chairs and whatever. They ended up, instead of going toward the dressing room, though, they started wrestling, like beating each other and hitting each other with chairs and chasing each other through the auditorium toward the front of the auditorium. Well, then all of a sudden they went out into the lobby of the auditorium, and within 5 minutes they were in the streets of Japan going at it. Dad and Abdul the Butcher, Abdul with his fork and Dad with whatever else he could find to hit Abdul with, right out onto the sidewalk. Now, a sidewalk in Tokyo, Japan, with the sidewalks, the buildings, and the cars, you're probably talking about 50, 100,000 people could see this happening. And so they're in the middle of the street, traffic stops, everything else. The cops come. It's about 8, 10 cops to get them separated. And if it hadn't been for Giant Bubba and his prowess in Japan, he was looked at, he was a national hero. If it hadn't been for Giant Bubba my father and Abdul the Butcher were not only going to be kicked out of Japan, they were never going to be allowed to return.
Wow.
That's what you get for wrestling in the middle of the street in Tokyo.
Well, yeah, I would think.
They don't like that.
Well, yeah. Well, there's the thing. The police aren't in on it. You know, they don't know what's
No,
going
they
on.
didn't
They see a
know.
fight. They think it's a fight. They see people bleeding. They go, "Oh my god!"
And unfortunately to them, they saw a fight between two guys that combined weighed about as much as the 10 officers.
That's right.
It wasn't like they were going to break up a little schoolyard fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dad was crazy, but he was fun. He was just like that with me. I just am getting ready to send my book to editor and publisher, and my book is called Don't Tell Your Mother.
Oh, you did use that title. I'm glad you know,
Yeah.
we talked. You walked up last year. Last year, we're having a cocktail hour before the Hall of Fame inductions.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to Kayla Sparks. We're both from the same area, and we're just talking about the area and stuff. And you walked over and said hello. And you told us about that particular title. And I said, that's so perfect. And when you said that, both of our jaws dropped over. Do you remember this? We're like,
Oh yeah,
it's so good. It's so perfect. Because it is, because it's I can't imagine the hundreds of things that he told you not to tell your mother about.
Oh, good God. Well, that was a funny. I mean, I came up with the name just because it wasn't like I came up with a way to express how my dad and I talk. He actually said that, and many more than 100 times. And we we bought a lake house down at the Ozarks, down at the lake in central Missouri. And I'm 5, 6 years old. You buy a lake house. When you go down to the lake house, what's a 5-year-old, 6-year-old? I want to fish. Learn how to fish. Dad, teach me how to fish. So he buys the boat and the tackle and the gear. And we went, I got him out. Who knows where he just flown in from Japan, Australia, who knows where. But I still got him up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go fishing. And he said a couple of words under his voice that I probably wasn't supposed to hear. We went out 5 days in a row, didn't catch a fish. It got to my mom was making fun of us. The fourth and fifth day that we came home, she had bacon and eggs and sausage and stuff ready because she knew we weren't coming home with fish. And so that pissed Dad off. So, well, not really, but he was a little upset about that. Well, there was a hardware store in this little town down in this little bitty town in Missouri that used to sell him black market stuff out the back door of the hardware store. Chloridane and chemicals that were made illegal, and, just whatever, fireworks. And so he went into town and he came back, never said where he was going. Next morning we get up, go down to the boat. I start putting stuff, and getting arranged in the fishing boat. What are you doing? I said, well, I'm getting ready to take off here. And he said, you don't need all that crap. I said, what do you mean? And he's got this bag next to him, this big, plastic bag. And he reaches in and he pulls a big old rock out, like a rock about the size of a softball, with a 3rd stick of dynamite duct taped to it. So he said, pull in over this cove over here. So we pulled into the cove and it's got the lily pads and you can just think all the bass are got to be floating around there somewhere. So he said, I'm going to light this. And when I throw it and I say, go, you hit it. I said, okay. So he lights it and it's, they have underwater wicks. So he lights it, lets it burn for a second, throws the rock out into the lake and go. I put the throttle to the stops. We went flying out of there. I was scared to death. I didn't know what was going on. And finally I hear from the back, hey, you driving us back to Kansas City? Where the hell are you going? Oh, all right. He said, go back to that cove. So we went back to the cove and sure enough, there's 10, 15 fish floating around. Because when the dynamite goes off underwater, it's a concussion and it basically knocks the fish out. They're not dead. They just get knocked out.
Right.
So there's 10, 15 fish floating around here. And I'm looking like, oh my God, I've never seen so many fish. Hey, I turned around. He's got a net in his hand. He's handing to me. He says, are you going to sit there or are you going to fish?
I'm from upstate New York and I've never heard a story like that. I'll tell you right now. Because we fished up there and it was like, wow,
Yeah, well, of course, on the way back, and don't tell your mother.
Right. And that's the name of the book. And I'm really glad. So you're sending it out to the publishers as we speak. Is that what you just told
Pretty
me?
much, yeah. I'm doing a little more with my editor, and then it'll be going to the publisher.
Wow.
It's
What are you looking at
it's
a release
taken.
for that?
I can't. I hope by the end of the year. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
It's been more of a challenge. At first, I thought, well, this is easy. I've been telling people stories about my father for 55 years. I can do that. No problem. I'll just dictate into the computer.
Mhm.
Well, most people, all people will say that who've never written a book, it's quite a challenge to write a book. But I didn't think it was going to be as difficult as it is. And when I realized it was difficult was when I was spending all day writing all these funny stories about my father and I, and then close my computer at night and I'm left with those memories and dad's still gone.
Yeah.
So some days I just had to quit writing because it wasn't that the story was making me sad. It was that at the end of the story, I'm still here and he's not.
Yeah.
So it was more emotionally challenging than I thought it would be, or that I think that I shouldn't say that I thought that think it is.
Well,
It's emotion.
it's going to be a privilege to read the book, and knowing that you feel the way you do, you're kind of opening yourself up. It'll be the unvarnished truth too, and I think that kind of thing is always important.
Yeah. I mean, here's the little one. I didn't even know this until I started. My mom's writing a book too. Hers is called Life with a King. And hers is hers is a memoir. It's more of a historical account of their lives together and all. And I mean, it's funny, but it's been harder to write than I thought.
No, listen, anything personal is tough to, you
Yeah.
worry about how people will feel on the other end, and you wonder if you're saying too much or not enough. It's when it's that intensely personal, you have to really think it through,
Mhm.
and it makes it probably the hardest thing to write. Listen, the hardest wrestling articles I wrote, I wrote an article about Nikita Koloff's wife dying once.
No, no.
And that was really hard for me to do because they
Mhm.
both gave me interviews and she was sick in the hospital at the time and she was
Yeah.
really in bad shape. And I remember feeling funny even writing it, because they were really opening up to me about the trouble she was in. And I just considered it, I considered it a privilege they would even come to me to do something like that. But back in my magazine days, because it was like,
Yeah.
this is serious stuff. This isn't, Rick Steamboat winning a title. This is life and death.
Yeah.
And when you go to sit down to write as a writer, who I've been writing since 1979 or something like that, those are the hardest things to do when it's real life and death or real life, even, personal, intimate memories. It's very, very hard to do. It's the hardest thing to write. And so,
Well, and
listen, I know exactly how you feel, my friend. I really do.
it's it's easy to tell you a story. It's very hard to write you a story.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like I wanted to do an audiobook version because I want to use my father's voice in some things. Because turn around and grab this net in written form doesn't have the pizzazz as it does when you're at gruff Harley Race saying it. And so how do you write? I mean, there's only so many ways to say he has a deep, gravelly voice.
Right.
So, I mean,
Sure.
there's only so many adjectives on earth. And that's the hardest thing to capture, I think, is luckily for me, I guess, and luckily, I don't know, but um, one thing that I have going is that most of my readers will be familiar enough with him to fill in the blanks. When I say deep, gravelly voice, they've heard him on promos. They know what he sounds like. They know he sounds like insane maniac that's going to kill somebody. And I'm talking to him about him making chocolate chip pancakes.
I told you when I met him, I had to call him once, and he had that same voice. I'm like, I'm like, sir, the first thing I say is sir, because it's like that was his voice. He wasn't putting on airs during those interviews. That's what he talked like.
Here's Blair, I'm coming down to get you. Justin, you're late for school. Same. I got the promo. Everything he said to me was the promo voice. Now, if he said it with the promo look, that means I screwed up and I better, come in
do the right
before
thing.
curfew the next time.
Well, I'm excited about the book, man. I think this is really, really, but this is big news. I didn't expect this when I set up this interview, so I'm very thankful that you're talking to me about it because it's like we started talking about it last year, and it's like this is good stuff. People are going to want to read this.
Well, I just want people to know that yes, it's in progress, and I wanted it released last year. Well, earlier this year, but like I said, it was just harder than I thought. So
Well,
anybody out there that's waiting, I guarantee you there'll be a product out soon.
the only advice I can give you from an old editor and publisher: do it right. Take your time. Don't rush it. No matter what you think your deadline is, do it right. Make sure your editor is on point and everything else, because it's like, a good product in the end is very, very satisfying. And I think you're going to have a really good response to this. I'm sure of that.
Oh yeah, I mean, and with that name, I how like when you go out to do I've done promos and stuff all my life. When you promo a book or something like that, you should have a 30-second memorized spot to where if someone asks you what is your book about, you need to nail it in 15 to 30 seconds or they're not going to listen. And you better be interested in those 15 to 30 seconds. When I say my book is called Don't Tell Your Mother, people just start laughing. They don't even ask me what it's.
Yeah. You saw what Kayla and I did. It was like, holy smokes, that's so good. It's so perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I mean that. I'm not blowing smoke at you. I think people, first of all, it's a unique name for a wrestling book. That's a unique name for a wrestling book. Is there going to be a subtitle like My Life with Harley Race or something like that?
Probably,
you probably have to. I'd imagine.
Funny stories with Harley and his son, or I don't know. Yeah. Something.
Right.
I'll definitely want his name in the headline because that will attract attention. But I think the name of the book will attract people that don't have a clue about wrestling, because everyone's got a story. They were out with mom, and don't tell your dad we did this, and don't tell your mom we did. Everyone's got a story about that. So I just have a bunch of them and compiled them into a book.
Yeah. Wow. This is good stuff. Going back to
Rick,
childhood.
you said something about Rick. I just wrote this. Actually, it was a fan that said it to me, and then I was reminded of it. And when Rick, he hit that over the head with the belt a lot, and the dome globe, that stainless steel globe on the front of the WA belt.
Absolutely,
the dome globe. Well, the stainless steel, it had a dent in it, and
yes,
that dent was for my father's head. And Rick hit him over the head with it, and that hard. It was stainless steel. And so we're sitting back in the dressing room, and I was always in the dressing room with him. I grew up with a bunch of 300 to 550-pound uncles. I just loved hanging out back there with the guys. So Dad's looking at the mirror, and rather than blood pouring out of his forehead, the blood's coming out from here and going through his afro hair and making his head look like a red Brillo pad. And he's just looking, and he looked over, and Rick's across the dressing room. He looked over at Rick, excuse my language, if you don't say it like Harley says it, and it's funny. He looked over at Rick, he said, and he's the only one to ever call him Ricky. He said, Ricky, you hit me over the head with that goddamn belt one more time, I'm going to shove it up your ass. And he never got hit with the belt again.
There you go. Yeah. I don't know. I swear, man. The old school wrestlers, what I call the real wrestlers, I don't know how they did it. Particularly to the level that Ric Flair and Harley Race and guys like that were at. It's like,
hence why my father was so happy I graduated from college.
Yeah, that's the reason. Yeah, because you didn't have to get hit over the head with things.
Well, and you also have to remember too, because I get this question probably more than any question is, why didn't you follow in your father's footsteps or whatever? Why didn't you go into wrestling? And, back then, not only was it brutal and was it nearly impossible on the family and all, well, for the long story short, that's one of the reasons in the 70s when I was growing up, you had Kevin, David, and Carrie die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Henning die, and self-inflicted or, they didn't die in car wrecks. There was a lot of my father's age, like my age guys, when I was an age and their sons were teenagers, that were killing themselves and getting hurt and getting and whatever, ODing, and I think my parents just didn't want me to have any part of that.
The business was changing at that point.
Yeah,
it really was. It went from I think it went from hard drinkers to hard partiers. To be honest with you, the easy way to put it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, they did. I mean, I can see my dad, especially with what he put himself through. If I were to have broke into the business, he would have expected the same of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know that I'm that tough. In fact, I know I'm not that tough.
Well, you know, when I
But
met you, when I met you, I thought you had the size. You looked like a wrestler to me. I mean, you have that
I
visage.
went to I had got a scholarship to college for wrestling and football, and I chose football.
Mm-hmm. How'd
I
you
went
do?
to SMU in Dallas, Texas.
Okay. How'd you do?
Well, in my sophomore year in high school, I broke my neck, ironically, in a wrestling match. Cracked a vertebrae and compressed 2 discs. And I kept that quiet through the rest of my high school career. Well, when I got to go to schools for taking a physical for scholarships and stuff like that, I got to SMU and they said, turn your head. I turned my head. They said, that's a little farther you can turn your head. And I made something up. I was, oh, yeah, I was just working out my shoulders. That's it. And they said, no, we need to check this out. And they put me in a CAT scan machine and found the calcium deposit in the third vertebrae of my neck where it had been cracked. And Forrest Gregg was the coach. I don't know if you're familiar with Forrest Gregg, but Vince Lombardi said that Forrest Gregg was the toughest football player he ever coached. Vince Lombardi said that. Well, Forrest Gregg was now my head coach. And he asked me into his office, which is, kind of intimidating going to Forrest Gregg's office anyway. And he walked in and he sat me down. He said, Justin, you can't play football anymore.
Just like that.
And, yep. And you have an athletics transcript and an academics transcript. And right in front of me, he just, with a stamp, hit canceled on my athletic transcript, meaning I can no longer play in college sports. My goal in life was to be a professional football player, and it ended that evening.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you take it hard?
Yeah. I love football. I started playing tackle or flag football at about 5 or 6 years old or something like that. And back then, my dad had purchased like one of the first home video cameras. I mean, the thing was like a television camera nowadays.
Yeah.
And the recorder was this big, like the size of this laptop. And the battery pack that went with the recorder was about that big. I mean, you're talking about 30, 40 pounds worth of stuff here. And yeah, my dad was the one running down the sidelines, chasing me with a camera as I broke out for running for a touchdown or something. He was running along the sidelines with me, trying to record it with his 40 pounds of camera gear.
Mm. Well, I'm sorry that worked out that way for you, but it sounds like you had a pretty good life. And
Oh yeah, yeah.
for
My
the
parents
weird,
were relieved. Are you kidding me?
yeah.
Finally, he's not in football or wrestling anymore. He's going into business.
But here, let me ask you just one more question about growing up. Were there, one of the first guests I ever had on the show was, I don't know if you know her or met her. You probably met her because you've been around. Paige Von Hess
Mhm.
Sutherland, the
Mhm.
daughter of Kurt Von Hess, and she was
I believe
amazing.
we've met. I'm not sure, but
Well, she was amazing. Just telling me what it was like to be the daughter of a pro wrestler heel. Growing up with people trying to attack their car and all this other stuff, and all the rough part of wrestling fans. Were there times when you were upset that he was gone for a long time, or he faced a threat for somebody, or something that wasn't quite savory about his career? Did it ever get to you?
well, when I was a kid, I was going to tell you about the promoters. That's what it was. Promoters with my mom and dad. When I was a kid and I didn't know what was going on, I was 6, 7, so what I can remember, but I wasn't old enough. Yeah, I'd cry and scream, and my mom would have to take me out of the arena. And as soon as the match was over, let me run back in the dressing room, make sure dad was okay. And I mean, there was often time. I mean, they kind of had a little code. When we go into a town, it was like, is this going to be a bloodbath or a wrestling match? Because if you're wrestling Abdul the Butcher or Bruiser Brody, Justin and I are going to play putt-putt or going to a movie or something.
Mhm.
We're going to have a wrestling match, then we'll go. Well, there's always mistakes made and things get out of hand, and it happens. And so, yeah, I mean, I talked to Rosh and Marshall Von Erich once, and Bronwyn, uh, Tommy, British Bulldog, Dynamite Kid's daughter. And it's an interesting, like, um, what do you want to say? Something you have in common,
Right.
that no one else has in common. When I talk to them or whatever, I don't have to tell them or try to describe to them what it feels like when you're 8 years old and your dad gets hit with a chair and blood goes flying everywhere. I don't have to explain to or try to explain to them what that feels like. They know.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very small fraternity of people that know that are in that know, much less than any other sport.
I absolutely would have to agree with that. Yeah. Because it's unique. It's so unique and it's rare. People who would even do that.
Well, I mean, I post pictures of my dad, blood flowing down his face. My mom, he's kissing my mom. I'm smiling and this and that. And I'm probably 6 years old and I'm smiling and whatever. And I'll put underneath it, this is a successful night at the race house. My father looks like he'd just been thrown through a windshield of a car going 90 mile an hour. And sweat and blood and this and that. And that's a great night at our house.
Yeah.
Yep.
A unique life, I'll tell you. I mean, it's
people that'll say, that'll ask you, did you ever have a traumatic event happen when you were a child? And I'd say, well, besides watching my dad get the shit kicked out of him 5 or 6 nights a week, I might have been in a car wreck.
Yeah. Wow. I'm
My
not
life
making laugh, but I know what you mean.
No, my childhood life was a series of traumatic events nightly.
Yeah.
But
Oh
that
my
brings me
gosh.
back to what I wanted to say about the promoters. One thing that I'll always be so thankful for is Bubba, Ron Miller in Australia, Sam, of course, here, and Eddie, all the promoters, when they strapped Dad and told him he's in there for the long haul because they're going to be sending him all over the world and they don't trust anybody else to take the belt all over the world. They also knew that my dad was a very big family man. He never worked at Christmas. And I think he only worked one Thanksgiving my whole life, but he never worked at Christmas or Christmas Eve. He would not do it. He didn't care what they pay him. So when the promoters decided, I mean, not as a group, but they kind of did, and the NWA board and everything else decided that Harley was going to be busy. My dad went right to them and said, I will tell you when my family's coming along and you pay for their tickets. And they said, fine. So starting the first time I was in Australia, I think I was 6. In Japan, many times. I was in 10 countries before I was 12 years old.
Wow. Yeah.
Because they flew us with him because they knew if he didn't have his family with him, then he wasn't going to do it.
Going to go.
Here. Someone else. They let someone else run around the world by themselves with his damn belt. But he had respect for the business. It's the only thing he ever did, and he had respect for his family. And if the two were going to make it together, then they were going to have to fly us with him. And as a child, I was probably one of the most blessed kids on earth. I mean, my friends are going to Colorado skiing and whatever for spring break when they were little kids. Where are you going? Well, we're going to Singapore. And then after that, I think we're going to Japan. And then we're going through Hawaii on the way back. It's like, you're going where?
It's really true. Most normal human beings, or how do I say, most mere mortals don't have an opportunity to travel like that. I mean, it's and did you enjoy the traveling and seeing all these different places?
Yeah, Dad was fun. I mean, he didn't take us with him just so we could all hang out at the hotel all day. Whenever we went to towns, he did the sightseeing with us. We did everything together. We saw all the important things. We usually had, when we were in other countries, we kind of had an entourage of people that make sure that we were in the right place at the right time, especially in Japan. That we'd have like 12 people following us around all the time, translators and whatnot. But they'd make sure that we went to the most important sites, the things that people want to see and whatever. And yeah, I got to see some amazing things. I had to see the Emperor's Palace in Japan.
Jeez. Yeah. Yeah. As you're going through all these travels and meeting all these people, did you have any pro wrestler that you would see them and go, oh boy, I'm glad to see this guy again. I really like him. Uncle whoever, Did you have any favorites? Yeah, you personally.
Oh, yeah. Baron von Raschke, who we were on a tour in Japan, and I was just getting old enough. I'm like, I'm not from Germany. He said, no. And he said, no. He said, no, I'm from Nebraska. And I said, oh, so you're Rasky from Nebraska. And so you're Racy from Casey. So that's what we called each other. I was a little boy too. I'm not like an adult talking.
Yeah.
I'm a little boy.
Yeah.
So he was loads of fun. Brody, Frank was a blast. We
Really?
we got my dad one time. We were in Barbara. Every time I'm with Barbara Goodish, Frank's wife. Every time I'm with her, she like tells the room to shut up because I got to tell the story. She loves it. So we're in a hotel in Japan on a tour again, and Frank was standing there in the lobby, and he wore those old sweatpants, with elastic around the ankles, and you pull them up to like your knees. Yeah, that's the style, I guess. Back then, you pull them up to your knees. Well, I saw him wearing his. I thought that looked cool, so I pulled my, up to my knees, my sweatpants up to my knees. Well, Dad walks into the lobby. He looks at me. He looks at Frank. He looks back at me. He looks at Frank. God damn it, Frank! Look how you got my son dressing. You both look like hobos. and he walked off, and Brody looked down at me and winked, like, we got him.
Oh man!
So, yeah,
what a life!
I had when Dad went to work. When I was in the dressing room and Dad went to work. When I was a young kid, you just don't let a young kid just go wandering around an arena. So yeah, I stayed in the dressing room, and I had babysitters types, just other guys that they taught me how to play cribbage, or we goof around doing whatever. Yeah, so I had, like I said, I had a bunch of 300 to 550 pound uncles.
There you go. That's really great. You must have been a good kid.
Yeah, I mean, I just had fun. I mean, it was just, when you're a little kid being around all these huge guys all your life, and then you grow up and become an adult, and people start talking about large people, and I'm like, that's not a large person.
I'm going to ask you one more question.
Sure.
You're a full grown. I think we're about the same age. I get the feeling we're about the same. You may be younger than me. You're born in 70? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm born in 58. I'm way older than you are.
Oh, wow. Well, when Dad won my first title in 73, I was 3.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Jesus, this is why I don't do it. This is why I don't do a video podcast. All right. But here's the question I have for you. And I mean this with all sincerity.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't many offspring. You're a full grown man now. And everywhere you go, people tell you your dad is the best who ever did what he did. I can't even imagine what that's like.
It's very humbling. It's very honor. It's a complete honor. Well, I'll put it this way. When I was younger, like when I didn't really understand what was going on, and we'd have dinner at a local restaurant or whatever, just, family dinner, talk about school and whatever, the upstairs toilet needs to be fixed, whatever, just family dinner. People would constantly walk up and ask for autographs. And my mom would say, can't they at least wait until we finish eating? And my dad would always say, Yvonne, that person paid for this meal. That person paid for your home. That person paid for your car. That person paid for the vacation we just went on and Justin's school. You're nice to these people because they're who provide you with your life. If it wasn't for them, he said, if it wasn't for butts and seats, we'd live in a tent.
Yeah.
And as I got older, he sat me down once and he said, when you go through your life, and like you said, as I became more of a grown man, people are going to recognize you. They're going to recognize me. They're going to recognize the name, whatever. If you're not on your way to the emergency room or late for work or something, you stop and you give those people 5 minutes. You just stop what you're doing, let them tell their stories, let them give their opinions, tell them some stories, some funny stories, some old Harley stories or whatever. Listen to them, give opinions if they want it. If they want to give you your the opinion that your dad's a jerk, then that's what that guy thinks. But one way or another, you give them that 5 minutes. He said, do you know why? And I said, no, why? He said, because it's 5 minutes they'll never forget.
Yeah.
And I've always lived by that. If somebody, I'll stop wherever someone has a question. I stop, I answer. If they got another question, I mean, you got to cut it off at a certain point. I can sit there and talk to you for hours.
Right.
But yeah, I've always held that. I've held up that my end of the deal with my dad on that is, and you got to think, it's not just some wrestling fans. It's an honor, and one of the reasons it's so humbling and it's such an honor is I've met high government officials, I've met CEOs of huge companies, I met celebrities and athletes and whatever. And oh, hold on. So I watch these people in $10,000 suits, standing in front of me, and they find out who my father is, and I get to watch him turn into a little boy for a moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
This big senator or CEO or whatever, I literally watched them turn into a little boy, and their voice like ekes up a little bit, and they start talking about, I watched your dad with my dad every Saturday morning, and then and they start going on and telling you, that my family or my dad was a part of their family growing up and this and that, and that's an honor.
Mhm.
I mean, this is a very powerful person, and he just turned into a little boy in front of me because of my father. Now, that isn't an honor, and if that doesn't humble you, and if that doesn't make you look with such awe at your own father and what he was able to accomplish and still be a father and still be a part of raising me and still be a part of, the gentleman things that my mom and dad taught me. I mean, my mom had me be a gentleman when I was 3 years old. I was trying to jump to grab the handle on the door to open the door for the lady.
Mhm.
But he was a part of that, and he was a part of the family and all that goes with it.
It's an honor to have you here, and Harley Race is one of a kind, and so is his son. And it's been really, really nice getting to know you the last couple of years. But anyway, it's an honor. It was an honor knowing your dad. I didn't know him all that well. Like I said, I spoke to him on the phone. I was in a few arenas with him, and we would talk. I didn't have to talk about a whole lot. But I will say that he was one of a kind, and so were you. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you again in the middle of October at the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in Albany, as well as your lovely mother. And it was such an honor to meet both there last year, and I think we're going to have even more fun this year too.
Oh, Bob, I look so forward to seeing you again. I look so forward to seeing everybody again. We had such
Yeah,
a
isn't it
blast.
a great
We're
bunch
treated,
there? And it's
yeah.
growing now. It's starting to grow a little bit, and it's a nice feeling because I think the vibe is really, really upbeat there. We could use all of that we can get these days.
Well, that's one of the reasons I'm going is I'm trying to get publicity for it.
Mhm.
And of course, Bill's after his birthday. I
Yeah.
have to
Yeah,
wish the baby.
Seth Turner has recruited me to do a little stuff.
Roast.
There, yes, a little bit of some sort of a shtick, and we will do that on the Saturday leg of the 2 days, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing that. So, look for the book when it comes out. Let me
Don't
know
tell
when
your
it comes
mother.
out, and I would be
I
happy to
will.
spread the word about it.
I will absolutely do that. And for all you out there listening, I really appreciate it. And I had a great time with Bob, and I hope you all have a good time too.
You got it. See you in a
Thanks.
couple weeks. Attention, Gen Xers. If you'd like to explore the era that appeals to you, look no further than GenerationXWire.com. The generation who grew up with the elite in entertainment, music, movies, TV, books, pro wrestling, and more finally has a one-stop destination for all their Gen X needs. From Aerosmith to Batman to the Killer Bees to the Twilight Zone, there's something for everybody at GenerationXWire.com. You won't find a more eclectic mix of pop culture content than at the leading website that specializes in the greatest generation, GenerationXWire.com. Check it out today. And there you have it. One show, I'll say it again for the books, just embrace. Who will be in attendance along with Mrs. Harley Race at this year's International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony in Albany, New York on Sunday, October 12th. at the Crown Plaza Desmond Hotel in Albany, New York. For all the information you need to attend, go to prowrestlinghall.net. To be honored this year and inducted will be Trish Stratus, Johnny Rods, Tony Atlas, Rocky Johnson, and Tito Santana. I understand Tito will not be at this event coming up, but he will be officially inducted later on. But I will say what a group that is, and I'm honored to be on that website right now, prowrestlinghall.org. I wrote an article about Johnny Rods, and I think you might be interested in reading it yourself. So go to the website and check that out. I was just privileged to be asked to do it because he was one of my all-time favorites, still is, and I can't wait to shake hands with him for the second time. I did meet him once back in the day at PWI. So again, it's a beautiful hotel. There's some great things happening that weekend also at the arena, the MVP arena, where the actual International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame is housed. So go on the website. You'll get all that information. Check it out. It'll be well worth your time if you're in the region or even if you're not. I'm telling you, it's a wrestling fan's dream. The International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Like I said, Seth Turner, get your butt over here. We want to talk to you, okay? Write to us, outdatedwrestling@gmail.com. Our website, outdatedwrestlinghour.buzzsprout.com. All of our editions are there. Also on the website is the Outdated Wrestling Hour fan club, where for a nominal fee you can help participate in the ongoing efforts of this particular podcast and our sister podcast, the Outdated Entertainment Hour. We look at good old stuff. Find me on Facebook. I'm the only Bob Smith singing with B.B. King. Do you know I was a blues singer? I mean, a real one. I wasn't playing. I made albums that got played on the radio when I toured the entire United States of America. I was in the House of Blues Radio Hour with Dan Aykroyd. I played the Chicago Blues Festival 2 straight years. And on it went. All true. So that's why I'm singing with B.B. King on my Facebook page. So I'm Bob Smith there. Outdated_Bob is every other social media you can think of. You know, the Twitter, the X, the Blue Sky, Dolphin Face, whatever the rest of them are. I don't know. There's so many I can't keep up with. Instagram is kind of fun. I kind of like Instagram. So in any event, my name is Bob Smith. This is the Outdated Wrestling Hour. We will be back next week with hopefully more information about the Hall of Fame and a lot of more stuff. So for Joe Puccio and myself, this is Bob Smith, the old PWI guy. Thank you for being here. Ringo Starr says it. Peace and love, brothers and sisters. Oh, baby. Peace and love.